now I should be on again. At least that's what Streamlabs is showing. Yeah. It takes a little bit before you can see the live stream on YouTube, unfortunately. Okay, great. Well, then, in any case, yeah, okay, we need to see. I don't know what happened, if YouTube just closed the session or Streamlabs just crashed. Both is possible. Yeah, back to topic. So I'm checking every day what's happening in the market and who is driving the market. If I see a declining activity on centralized exchanges, but a big activity related to network transferred tokens, bitcoins in that case, that's an indicator, a potential indicator, of course, that some transactions are happening via OTC. Okay, and you remember just a few days ago I told you that the activity outside of centralized exchanges were linked to buy pressure, and now it flipped to bearish actually. And that's something that matches very well to what happened to the market makers as well, because the market makers are sending their tokens just before they sell them on SEX, but also OTC. And as you can see, they are declining their balances, indicating they are selling. But yeah, that's something I like to check, because the market is not only driven by centralized exchanges, also by OTCs, and we know OTCs are much more related to institutionals, for example. So that's something we should keep in mind. And as mentioned, you can see here, very interesting, the centralized exchanges activity were here. It started to rise, while the activity on outside of centralized exchanges has right where they have started to absorb tokens from the weak hands when we reach the 33K. That's a coincidence, a big coincidence. But well, let us go further. Something I want to check every day as well are miners, and just to see if miners, I mean, that's a possible indicator as well. If you see that miners are starting to sell their bitcoins, that's a potential signal that these guys know something and are starting or initiating a sell-off, something that's not happening. Um, these guys are really, yeah, they are chilling. The last time they did a very big outflow was a few days ago, February 14th. That was actually the biggest outflow in 2022 with almost 4,000 Bitcoin. And that happens the way up. So they did everything fine. It seems they have started to sell the way up, expecting a pump, and it happens. If we check the funding rates and future trading, here nothing special. Actually, at the moment, the funding rates maintain a level that's very neutral. It's not really bullish, but it's also not very bearish. Interesting is shorts. They live is really risky. If I see how many shorts they liquidate compared to longs, it, it's better to long all the time. It seems the risk to get dragged, it's really much less than shorts. It's really incredible what's happening. However, the leverage ratio, and we can see that here, That was our all-time high, and we still have a very high leverage ratio. That's nothing positive. It's not bullish at all, but also not bearish at all. That means that's feed for more volatility. That's nothing very nice for us if we are trading with futures. Keep in mind, if you trade with futures, try to trade with low leverage. My personal opinion, I'm trading Bitcoin with maximum 15, even less, and alts with 5 as maximum. But that's my personal opinion. I know that some guys are trading with 50 or 100 leverage. That it's okay, but I think that's much more gambling than something else. And with a rising volatility, they will liquidate them very quick. Um, However, if we can see that even CoinGlass is confirming what we have seen in the chart. So we have on ORCX, for example, the first exchange showing a very bullish sentiment and future traders. Binance flipped from bearish to bullish as well, and even FTX, yeah, is flipping back to bullish. So future traders are expecting um, a bullish price action very soon. We can check here. That's actually showing what Bitfinex future traders are doing, and I would say that's not really bullish, but also not really bearish. So both are rising, lifting up a little bit, but are almost on the same level. So it's not. They don't really know what's going to happen next, and that matches also to what we will see and what I have tweeted and mentioned about option trading. That's something I'm noticing. They are maximizing their risk management, but at the same time, we can't see a really solid trend by their trades. Usually, you would say more puts or more calls or some strategy related trades that indicates a bullish sentiment or a bearish sentiment. That's not happening. That's really strange. But on the same time, for example, option traders on stock markets, in particular for SPX and SPY, they are investing billions. I'm not joking. They are spending billions in trades where I say, what the hell? Out of the money, you are not going to make any money with that, but they are spending billions in instruments that doesn't make sense for me, but it seems for them it makes sense. And that's something I'm missing. I'm very frustrated because of that, because they know something we are missing, and they are expecting a huge impact. And we can see something similar to Bitcoin option traders. So let us take a look, for example, to the option trading. What happened in the last 24 hours related to our next expiry. If we check, for example, we can see, okay, in the last 24 hours, they have traded mid-size volume. It's not really big. We are talking about 10 millions, 11 millions, so nothing compared to what I have mentioned in the last few days, about 30 million, 40 million trades. The max pain for next Friday keeps being 41K, so nothing have changed. We have big volume in puts in lower ranges between, I would say, I mean here 30K, 65 millions, 85 millions at 35K, 86 millions at 40K. That's actually part of the last trade I have reported yesterday. But of course, we have here 50 million calls at 44K. We have here 170 million calls 50K. And checking just the last recent put trades and the call trades that we still have on the table, that's indicating me that those guys with these huge positions at 50K are now reducing their risks, just buying some puts in lower ranges. So it's not bullish, but at the same time, it's not really bearish. So that's the problem what I have at the moment. So if we check, for example, the last strikes of the last big strikes by volume of the last 24 hours, that's not big, but we have here puts at for 10 millions at 38K. That's bearish because these guys are expecting the price is going to be below 38K, right? And at the moment, we are close to the 38K, but we maintain this put wall at 40K. And this put wall at 40K is key zone. That's a critical zone. You have to understand, if we leave this 40K, if we dump, for example, hitting 39K, it will rain bitcoins. These guys will close their positions, okay, and they will sell. So that's why it seems many whales are trying to prevent that we dump hard below this 40K. And maybe not only whales, maybe institutionals, those they sold this these options, and exchanges, of course. But yeah, we have calls at 41K, we have calls at 42K with a volume between 10 and 12 millions, but it's very close to our current price level, so nothing really useful. It seems that market actors are very nervous because they don't really know what's going to happen next. Even if we check here, yes, okay, puts closed or sold, but I think they closed almost 5 million at 30K because they say the price is not going to 30K. Otherwise, it wouldn't make any sense because they closed this. They didn't sold this 5 million in puts. I think they closed that with loss. We have here yeah, something similar, but on both sides, on calls and at the same time on puts. That would make sense. 38K, someone bought this puts and someone sold this puts, and the same is happening here with calls at 41 and 42K. So also something where I say, okay, it's nice to see that, but it doesn't give me any opportunity to detect a trend. However, the volume for the open interest for the next Friday is going to be a nice one because we have right now 1.5 billion US dollar in open interest, so it's really a nice one. However, it's absolutely nothing compared to what's going to happen in March. And as you can see, we have in March, for March, we have more calls than puts. Something where I personally will think that we will go up in March, but I'm struggling with the last development of the markets. However, the February 25th, so next week, is going to be very interesting what's going to happen there. And we need to check even more what kind of trades are arriving. We can see here that even right now the volume for the next expiries, we have here an expiry that's February 20th, February 21st, and our 25th. And I mean, we are talking here about 120 million, we are talking here almost 100 million and 90 million. So I'm not sure if these guys are just trying to make quick money, but they have to pay all this premium, and that's something, yeah. On the other side, they are working on their risk management. On the other side, they are spending huge money in trades where I say it doesn't make really big sense to me. So if we take a look to the BTC top traded instruments related to the options, the biggest is for next February 20th, puts at 40k. They spend 27 million. Okay, nice. I mean, but that's not bullish or bearish at all. They are expecting that the price um, will dump even more, or at least maintain a price level below 40k. But that's not really bearish. Okay, something bearish would be 27 million and puts at 36k for February 20th, for example. But yeah, the same here. Calls 40k for the expiry 21st. Nice to see, but not useful at all. 26 million. These guys are spending a lot of money at the moment. And yeah, puts, calls, everything very close to our current price level. We have here, for example, one trade 19 million in volume, so it's okay, it's nothing huge. For the expiry 20th, for puts at 38k. That's bearish, for example. But everything else, calls for March, I don't care. Puts again for 21st, again 38k. Okay, that's really interesting. Both are for the same price level, and they spent almost 34 millions 2 days in a row. That's something we should have in mind, because that's really interesting. And yes, again, 42k for calls. For the expiry 25th, we have out of the money 53% of all calls. I mean, that's poor loss for them. And we have actually puts, also 35% of them are out of the money. But it's compared to the calls, it looks more bearish than bullish at the moment. At least it looks better for the puts trades than for the calls trades. And I was wondering, because the max pain for all expiries went up to 42k, but just a few days later it dropped again back to 41k. So as mentioned again, what's happening here in the market is very strange. I don't remember when I have seen such huge moves in money and big budgets, not only related to crypto, but without a clear trend. And that's something where I'm struggling a little bit. And the key is here, of course, to detect the insider. So when I see, for example, such a trade with 2 days in a row, almost 33 million spent in puts at 38k, that's something where I say, I guess these guys could know something, because that would be tomorrow. And this trade happened in the last 24 hours. That's something we should take a look what happens on the different order walls related to exchanges, to the big ones. If we can detect some walls at 38k or maybe a bit below, that could be a signal that a big one will try to push the price below of this 38k. That would be interesting, because that would be not necessarily be something that I'm expecting. Okay, I expecting actually much more that the price lift up this weekend, but we have to see and we have to check. We can check here a little bit the market, what's going on. You remember, and I have tweeted that, I have mentioned that several times. I have detected big inflows in stable coins, but at the moment, at the same time, that was yesterday, big spot inflows related to Bitcoin as well. So if we check what happened yesterday, for example, that's really huge. Well, I mean that's maybe not huge, but big. We had almost 1.9 billion US dollars in stablecoin inflows yesterday and 1.8 billion US dollar stablecoin outflows yesterday and 28,700 Bitcoin that just went in. That's really big. At the same moment, it shows me yesterday we had a positive net flow of 1,735 Bitcoin, means of this 28,700, 27,000 Bitcoin just went out from the exchanges already. But as you can see as well, the Bitcoin inflows are rising, are lifting up. Not that big, not the same like we had end of January. And that's where I say end of January, it will be key. If we really dump huge, I think that was the period of time that they used to prepare the dump that's going to happen a few weeks later. The question is, how can they prepare something that's going to happen related to fake news or whatever few days later? Because, I mean, usually the market reacts by news, by something that's going to happen, okay? Usually they don't dump just einfach to dump, okay? So, and that happens in the past many times. They know in advance what's going to happen in the market. That's really interesting because these guys have to be very well networked, and many of them have to be institutionals. Otherwise, I really can't explain that. But yeah, so today it's a really quiet day because we received more, or we can detect here more stablecoin outflows than inflows. Even, for example, we can see here we had few hours ago just an inflow of 1,000 Bitcoin. That's nothing. So I would say the daily balance of inflows related to stable coins but also to Bitcoins, it's really low. It's nothing compared to yesterday, for example. And that's actually also a point where I would say that would indicate me that we have at least the opportunity to lift up again. But that's something we need to see what's going to happen. Yeah, I had miners, future trading. I'm trying to think and to cover every kind of data that would give you a good overview what's going to happen in the next 2 days. Again, we can talk about the market makers. I have mentioned before, and you can see what these guys are doing. It's really interesting and huge because these guys buy low and sell high. That's what they are doing since really few months. If we take a look, okay, that's not really cool what you are doing here, but I can't change that. If you can see, these guys are not accumulating anymore since August. They are just buying low, sell high, buying low, sell high. So I'm expecting, and if that's happening, it's going to be very bearish. And that would match to what the weights ratio is indicating us. They have started to buy in a price level. I have to zoom in a little bit more. Let me see here. So better. Um, we can see here that that's the balances of their wallets. Okay, so if they use OTC or if they use centralized exchanges, it depends. I think many of them use OTC because they have really big balances of 1,000 to 10,000 Bitcoin. That's really a lot. But on the same time, I think they use centralized exchanges as well. And in my opinion, these guys were preparing what happened since February 16th. They sent their Bitcoins 40,000 in the last few days to centralized exchanges, but also to OTC. And that's what happened yesterday or in the last few days. Okay, we have formed something like a double top, and then it has started to dump. I was expecting a little bit higher, but then I realized that they are going to dump, and that's where I started to short. So it wasn't really the top, but it was, yeah, a good entry price, and then they started to dump very hard. If it's happening what these guys do since the last few months, they have accumulated 130 to 140,000 bitcoins in the last few weeks. If that's going to happen and they distributed now 40,000, we will have a sell pressure just because of these guys of 100,000 bitcoin in the next days. 100,000 to 120,000 bitcoins. We can check what other entities are doing just to compare. Okay, these guys are the big ones with 1,000 to 10,000 bitcoins in their wallets. If we check, for example, these guys here, they have balances between from 100 bitcoins to 1,000 bitcoins. We check here. These guys are absolutely not the market makers, and they are not really accumulating anymore. They are really just, they started to sell here when the price were lifting up, but their trend is much more bearish. They have stabilized here, but it doesn't look like accumulating. These guys are at least not accumulating. We have here wallets with 10 to 100 Bitcoin, for example. That's the same picture. They have started to sell, I guess, here a little bit in fear because they were noticing, okay, we are going to dump. Since then, they are just selling. They are not buying. And we have here, for example, now we are reaching more retailer levels. We have here wallets with 1 to 10 bitcoins, for example. These guys are accumulating. Not that big, not that much, but they are accumulating. If we check, for example, what retailers are doing, and actually retailers are the best guys for whales, actually. They are just buying. All the time buying. They own 1 million bitcoins, while market makers own 5 million bitcoins. It's a little bit different. Everything. Last time someone asked me, hey, Inspo, why are you not showing, for example, wallets with more than 10,000 bitcoins? Well, it's very easy. I mean, it would make a little bit of sense with these guys here. These are wallets with 10,000 to 100,000 bitcoins. But the problem is you will find a lot of exchange, centralized exchange wallets here too. So it's very difficult and not, in my opinion, not really useful. First of all, because these guys are not the market makers, okay, related to trade behavior. You can see it sometimes it doesn't really make sense what these guys are doing, but it makes sense if you are an exchange, a centralized exchange. And even if we check, for example, these guys here, wallets with 100,000 and 1 million bitcoins, we just have 4 addresses. One of them is a whale, and 2 of them is Bitfinex and Binance. So also here it doesn't make absolutely no sense. If you see that they are accumulating, it looks like they are accumulating while the price is dumping. That's Binance and Bitfinex. Both have rised in Bitcoin reserves in the last weeks and months. So that makes sense. For me, the key also related to their trade behavior, because it seems these guys have information advantage. These guys, as soon as you see they are accumulating, like they did, for example, last summer, then okay, the market is going to pump up. So you have to take care with these guys here because, and for me, the most interesting entity, I did a big entity analysis last year, and when I have noticed this one, I felt in love because these guys really know the perfect time to sell, to distribute, and the perfect time when to absorb from weak hands. It's really, yeah, I show you just if you don't know that. If you didn't know that, crazy, why are you? Okay, it's always making the same. We can see here, I make it a little bit bigger, and the bars are really big. Okay. They have started to accumulate all the years before, between 2018 and 2020. In February 2021, they have started to distribute. I mean, check the angle, how they started to sell. They did a break here, and then with the last remaining bag that they had, that was it seems their reserve for to generate some fear in the market, and they have started to accumulate when we reached here. That was at that time 30K. I remember that day. That was May 16th, and everyone was in fear. They have started to buy. So these guys are really, they have the best trade behavior. These guys have to be the market makers. And in my opinion, they have a problem. They are in a trap because since the China ban, a lot of liquidity just, yeah, went out of the crypto market. And that's, in my opinion, the reason why they are using to buy and sell in upper half and lower half. They are not accumulating anymore, not big, not like they did, for example, here. Okay, and they are now declining imbalances. So we have to check these guys every day to see what's going to happen. I would love to find an app that's showing me their live tradings. Unfortunately, this app here, that's Sentiment, it's just providing fresh data every day, unfortunately. But if we could track the trades of these guys, that would be amazing. That would be really amazing, and I'm working on it to find a way how to track their trades live because, yeah, as mentioned, the trade behavior is just amazing. Let us talk a little bit more about the recent news, for example. I was reading in the last days what's happening in the EU related what's going to happen in the next time. I have mentioned several times that, for example, German lawmakers have make very big progress pro crypto. So German institutionals are waiting on the sidelines with 400 billion US dollars to invest in crypto. The problem that they have, Many of them are institutionals, and they need a regulation framework. Okay, these guys, like every bank, they have to follow what regulators are doing and want. So for them to invest 400 billion US dollars in crypto, it doesn't make any sense. That would be a big risk for them. And that's really interesting because many people are saying, yeah, but institutionals are buying huge. Sorry, I don't trust this kind of statements. Even the last big report of Genesis, and Genesis is the biggest OTC in the world, is indicating that the demand for Bitcoin is declining since the first quarter of 2021. It's, I mean, they had a demand of 42% and it has now a demand of 27%. Even for Ethereum, it's declining since the fourth quarter of 2021. Okay? Or the third, sorry, from the third to the fourth quarter of 2021. Also indicating that's a weak sign something is happening. Institutionals are expecting a maybe hard regulation framework from the US government, and so they are just reducing the risk of having big bags of an asset that could bring some trouble to them. Something that's absolutely usual for institutionals. The same is happening with the EU. And as you can see, the EU is open to cryptocurrency as long as there's in a regulation. And that's the next step. Everyone is waiting what Biden is going to make with the executive order regarding to crypto regulation. And trust me, mark my words, as soon as the market is regulated, mass adoption will happen. So to buy now can be a very good strategy, but a risky one. Okay, just to make it clear. I'm ultra bullish on crypto because I believe in crypto and because I know that in the next 10 years we will see a transformation of our economy. Okay, many companies are making this kind of digital transformation. That's not enough. We will make much more bigger steps with technology, smart cities, and crypto will play a big role on it. So as soon as we get in the US a crypto regulation framework, the EU will bring its crypto regulation framework, and trust me, then billions and hundreds and thousands, so trillions, will join the market. Until then, be careful, buy the dip. If you think it's the right level to buy it, it's fine, but always have in mind it depends on what is going to happen with the regulation framework. If it's crypto friendly, perfect. If it's not, like in Canada, for example, okay, that can be really pain in the ass because institutionals, or at least big whales, still holding their bitcoins and Ethereum, will dump the market with their assets. Mark my words. Another interesting news I want to share with you was the Kraken's CEO G. Powell. And he said in the last, related of course to Canada's regulation framework, he is actually saying that centralized exchanges are not the safest way to hold your assets. Because of course, every government with an order can seize your assets. That's something you should also have in mind. Nobody knows what's going to happen with the regulation framework in the US. In my opinion, the Biden administration is not really bullish on crypto. We know some statements by Janet Yellen. We know some statements by different other institutions and officials by the US government. Even if we have some US senators very bullish on crypto, I guess because they own crypto. But however, be very careful with that. Okay, that's something you should have in mind. The US government said they are going to release the executive order this month. So we don't have a lot of time until the month will end. In my opinion, the Canada decision could be a sign what's going to happen in the US. I'm well prepared. Okay? At the moment, that's not a recommendation. That's not any advice. It's my personal opinion. Even if I'm staking and I will let my assets right there, okay? I don't care. But I'm not going to invest and to make any big trades related to crypto at the moment. I need to see what's going to happen with the regulation framework. And it will take a little bit. We will have tapering. We will have rate hikes. It is possible that the monetary policy in the US will also flip maybe much more to bullish. It's possible because the Fed is now in a trap. They have just bad options to take, and it doesn't matter what they do. If they go too far, they can let crash the markets, something that could be epic. So they will try to prevent that. On the other side, they need to fight inflation because otherwise it will happen what I have described if they go too far. So it doesn't matter what they do, they really need to be very sensitive at the moment. And so I'm not going to expect, a very hard statement in the next month related to tapering and rate hikes, even if the inflation keeps rising. That's also something you should have in mind. Okay? So a lot of information, a lot of data that I have showed you now. For me, the most relevant one is really the wealth ratio. That was a really accurate indicator at the moment. And I have spent some time to analyze also in the past, and it was on point. I don't like this development at all. That's not bullish at all. And these guys are preparing something really big. Just as a summary, we have option tradings that's showing that these guys are trying to minimize their risk. On the other side, we have the wealth ratio on daily view that is pumping and maintaining a very high level, indicating that whales are preparing a big sell pressure. We have futures, high leverage futures, long and short, so everything perfect for a rising volatility. And we have the executive order and regulation framework still pending, something that's crucial, and we have to see what's going to happen. Maybe these guys are well prepared in case of the regulation framework is against or not really pro-crypto. That's also possible. However, many persons have a big focus on what's happening. Crypto hellspawn, hi mate, Russia, Ukraine, Biden and Putin. Well, it's geopolitics. It's really hard to say what's going to happen. I see that they are pushing to a war, and that's something that hurts in my heart right now because I don't know why they're. I mean, I know from geopolitical view why they are pushing, why the NATO is pushing, why Russia is doing what they are doing, and so on and so forth. It's I'm not going to talk about who is right and who is wrong because it doesn't care. If we have war, both did something absolutely wrong. Um, in case we will have war, the stock markets, the market in general, will start to melt down. That's absolutely, that would be really worst case because then we have not only an aggressive monetary policy, a rising inflation that will of course rise more, and yeah, I mean that's really a nightmare for everyone that's going to trade in stocks and crypto then. I really hope that they will de-escalate. Maybe they initiated a situation like the Cold War, okay? But that's something we can handle. We have to see what's going to happen next. But I really try not, mm, yeah, to let to let guide my trade strategy by what's happening on geopolitics levels at the moment. So I would say we are done. Actually, I have provided all stuff related to on-chain, to future trading, entity analysis, option trading. I would say if you have some questions, let us talk about your questions. I would like to reply to these questions next. Mughal, do we have some questions? Oh yeah, I see. We have. Oh yeah, we have. Well, Ata is asking, what does market movement look like till the end of February? It seems we should expect some rising volatility. As we have seen yesterday, mm, some big whales are preventing a price below 40K. As mentioned, related to these 40K option wall that we have detected, if we are not holding there, we will dump hard. I mean, dump hard means a lot of stablecoin inflows will follow. They will try to prevent, yeah, something that they can't control. And you have to have in mind that exchanges have some business cases. They need a certain price level for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and so on and so forth. Um, Otherwise, they will be underwater like they did, for example, last year in summer. They started to bring some big cluster of walls um, right below 30K to prevent that the price could even dump more. So I think something like this will happen again. Nikhil, do you think we are dumping for 30K due to the inflows? Well, it depends. It depends if all these inflows we received end of January, for example, are still alive on exchanges. Something we can't prove, something it's just a theory, but related to weights ratio, the weights ratio is pumping without a big volume. That's something very interesting because that means to me they are in the last preparations for something big that's going to happen next. In my opinion, from this huge volume of inflows we received in end of January, many of them are still waiting on exchanges. And yes, based on what I'm seeing related to waste ratio, but also related to the last put orders and trades related to exchange to option trading, they are prepared for such a move. I think 33K retest should happen in case it happens, it's not, I mean, if we fail in the retest, I mean, that would be a double bottom, right? So that would be extremely bullish if that happens. But if it's success, if they have a lot of Bitcoin to dump the market that huge that we can dump even below 33K, that could be a big problem, because then I think we can even reach lower levels than the last summer. And the last summer we did 29K. My favorite level is still 24K because of CME gaps. They are unfilled, and as you know, the derivative market is becoming more important for the crypto market. It's doing 60% of the whole volume. Much more than 60, well, not much more, but 66, 70% of the whole volume. Just 30% of the whole market volume is from spot markets, so centralized exchanges, bitcoins, and so on and so forth. So yeah, even I don't believe in this. We have to fill gaps, but taking into account that CME is becoming more important for the Bitcoin market, that's something we should have in mind. And the biggest gap is still between 24K and 26K. So in case we dump that hard, keep in mind my personal bottom would be 24K. Sanskrit, thanks for your time. It's insightful analysis. Thank you very much. Thanks for your feedback. I really appreciate that. Monia, not trading, just invest. Some said hold weekend selling. Some sell and buy when drop, buy more, gain faster profit. Which is better for new ones? Okay. It depends. I mean, if you want to make quick money, the best thing, and in my opinion, not only the best thing, also the thing where you can minimize your risk, is wait that the market dumps. The last big red candles are mostly indicating that the dump is reaching the end. In such case, buy spots, because the market should retrace relatively quick afterwards, and you can make 10 to 20% in few days. That's something I would, it's my personal opinion, that's what I'm doing sometimes. And if you are a new one, that would be the best trade plan in such case. Future trading with low leverage is also possible. Option trading, if you are new and you never traded with options, it's going to be a big challenge, so I wouldn't do that. Future trading with the leverage of 2 or 3, it's also very interesting. Okay, just too long, for example, if you see that these red candles are rising, and you can detect that the dump is showing first signals of weakness, just place a low leverage long. That's also fine. That's something where I say, if I'm new, I would make exactly these 2 trades then. YouTube question, organic body. What is OTC? Over the counter, mate. That's over the counter. That means they are not using centralized exchanges. They use, just imagine like 20 years ago, they called an agent in the Wall Street saying, I want to buy, I don't know, 1,000 Bitcoin, and the agent is just making this order in the computer and buying this Bitcoin. That's over the counter. Okay, many centralized exchanges like Kraken offers OTC as well, over the counter, but that's different. That depends on volume, and many institutionals are just using OTC and not centralized exchanges. when we see big inflows to centralized exchanges, it has a hidden information. They won't let you see that they are selling this huge order or this huge volume to the exchanges, because when you are trading with 20, 30,000 Bitcoin, you can use OTC without any problems. Okay, that's something I have always in mind. When we see such an inflow and they start to sell, that means to me, okay, these guys want to generate some fear. Okay, so that's also something you need to have in mind. Another YouTube question. What are your targets if we are in a bear market? Chasing the wick at Binance US at 9K and close all the gaps? Thank you. Well, not. This Binance US at 9K, I don't know what happened at that day. I remember actually it was 8K and not 9K, if I remember right. And I guess someone pressed the wrong button because the Binance US volume related to Bitcoin is not really big. And of course, if you start to sell a mid-sized volume, that dumps the market price right there very hard. No, I don't. At the moment, at least, I don't think 9K is possible at the moment. That's something I'm not really somebody that I don't like to predict for the next month or weeks. Even if I have maybe a trend in mind, but I don't like that. I would say 24K be because of this big gap that we have right there. Actually, that's something I have predicted last year, something in May, June or something, and it's still in my mind. Just because future ETFs are becoming more important for the crypto market, and as mentioned, almost 60 to 70% of the whole Bitcoin market volume is related to derivatives, option trading, and futures. Something we should have in mind. Another question. If you are bearish based on weight ratio, why did you close your short? Well, because okay, two, I can tell you two things why I did that. First of all, because I want to trade the swing. If we are lifting up, first of all, I'm not going to long, but I'm going to short in an upper level and take profit in the lowest level I can get. So that's first of all why I close my short. The second one is I'm trading on KuCoin, and I hope nobody is here related to KuCoin, because I like KuCoin, but related to future trading, it's really sometimes a bit stupid. I don't know why, but as soon as the price dumps in your favor because you are shorting, the leverage is declining. And I was shorting since 43.7. So yeah, my leverage was really low, and it makes more sense if you know that the price is going to lift up, or if you are expecting that, it makes more sense to open a new short with a higher leverage. I'm using at the moment, as mentioned, as max a leverage of 15. I did that, for example, when I noticed, okay, that's going to be a double top. We have resistance at 44. It's not going to rise even more. And that was the moment where I have shorted with a leverage of 15. But at 40K, then I have a leverage of 6 or 5 or something. Nothing where I would say, that's actually nice. Another YouTube question. When or well will you position yourself next? I think you mean my entry for the next short. Well, it depends. The whole market is driven by supply and by demand. That's always the same. At the moment, you can see it. I would say it looks like accumulation, but it's not. Okay, they have found here liquidity. We have a trend. Some whales they are pushing down, then we have some whales pushing up, and at the moment, that's our position at yeah, right now. Usually, I would think we will try to pump up here, 141.8, maybe 41.5. I have started to short here at 43, but with low budget. What I'm doing is I'm starting to place in key zones, for example here, then we have FIB here, we had some liquidity here, so I start to make little orders their way up, but shorting. That's how I'm trading with shorts. Only if I see on TA, for example, something that is indicating me for sure we are going to dump, I go all in in that level. But I don't do that many times. I'm much more a trader that's maximizing his risk management as much as possible. Let me see. YouTube questioned Atta, hold or sell? As mentioned, man, I just can provide you the information and the data. Regulation framework US. Potential war. Canada have seen what the regulation framework is showing. I mean, I'm okay to pay tax, but is that enough for them? They banned Tether in Canada. Okay, if that's going to happen in the US as well, oh, I think better to sell than to hold. But um, it's up to you. I can't advise, and I don't want to advise. I just try to provide you the best information possible to show you in which condition the market is right now to let you make a better um, decision like yours, hold or sell. Another question from you. What is long-term hold according to you? Will this meltdown matter if there is a war? Well, it depends how long and if they are going to escalate the war and so on and so forth. If that's a quick one, if that's going to be a war like in Georgia, where we had the first escalation and tensions with Russia, for example, that really depends. It's nothing I can answer just with one sentence. But in case that we have a really worst case scenario, okay, Tether banned, regulation framework is not really pro crypto. The EU is going to make and following the US, I guess. Uh, we get war that can take months and even years. I really hope that's not going to happen for every of us. Really not. Another YouTube questions. Hello, love your analysis. Thank you very much, Agelos. I'm very bearish for the short and midterm, and I decided to short Phantom at $2. Do you think that I should let it open till BTC finds a bottom, or we should push higher soon? Um, First of all, you are requesting an advice, something I can't provide. I just can't tell you if it's happening, if it will happen what I think, what I have in mind, with a rising volatility, with a huge sell pressure. They can pump up very quick $2,000 to $3,000 to then afterwards dump the market $6,000. Meanwhile, they wrecked you, they liquidate your short, and afterwards it will be pain in the ass for you because they will dump very hard afterwards. So the best way to trade with shorts and longs, taking into account the information I'm giving you, is to trade with, I mean, future trading with low leverage, not with high leverage. I don't know what leverage you are using, but and what margin you have. I mean, if you are shorting since, I don't know, I don't have the phantom price levels in mind because I don't trade phantom, but yeah, it depends. So just have in mind, if the volatility is going to rise because someone is trying to push the price down below 40K, or in case we start to lift up, um, right now I wouldn't say, even if we lift up, they will start with sell pressure and we will keep maintaining a price level close to 40K. Maybe 41, maybe 41.5, but I don't think that we are going to pump hard to 46 or 48K. Um, Duque Tassos, you said that you may expect a rise up in price as a scenario. Isn't it very possible so they can liquidate both direction and will sell in higher price? Yes, it's possible because they love to liquidate shorts. But however, we have high leverage longs install pending all the time, and as mentioned, we have whales. It seems they have a big interest to push the price below 40K. So yeah, for them it would be a nice move if they start to liquidate some shorts, because they are just going to generate buy pressure, while these whales can sell even more to a higher price. But if their goal is not just to sell but to push the price below 40K, it doesn't matter. They will sell even more, dump harder to reach the level they need. Another last question for today, the YouTube question: how much do you think spot affects the price, and how much is it because of futures, the stablecoin supply? It Can it be used for selling or perps? That's something we can't see that. Mm, if we get 350 million in stablecoins, of course, maybe they are using the stablecoins to short or to long or whatever. We don't see that, but it correlates always with Bitcoin inflows. As soon as we receive big Bitcoin inflows, they start to send stablecoins. That means to me they use this kind of stablecoins just to generate buy pressure, because they want to prevent a price below 40K. Otherwise, the dump will just get more pace and more, it will be more aggressive. Yeah, you're welcome, mate. Um, Joker, if strict regulations come through, do you think coins with miners like BTC, Ethereum are in danger? Which crypto assets do you think have most potential to survive regulation? Phew, that's really a hard question, mate. That's something I would like to know. That depends. I mean, mm, they changed the infrastructure bill content that was very anti-miner, and they changed the content, and now it's pro-mining. In my opinion, miners are not in risk in the US. It doesn't matter if Bitcoin or Ethereum. But they have a political agenda, and the political agenda is much more green. And we know the discussion. If you like it or not, it doesn't matter. It's a political agenda. But if they start to talk about that Bitcoin in the framework where we are moving at the moment with energy crisis, inflation, and so on and so forth, and they decide to say Bitcoin is using a lot of energy that we need, um, it's possible that they start to flip, and they start at least to raise taxes related to Bitcoin miners, just to make it very unattractive to mine even more. That's possible. That's something we should have in mind. Actually, a EU regulator in Brussels just a few weeks ago, and I have tweeted about that, has mentioned he would like to ban crypto, sorry, not crypto, he would like to ban Bitcoin because of this wasting energy. As mentioned, we can talk about, we can discuss if we like it or not. I think the industry is maybe actually spending or wasting much more energy than maybe Bitcoin, but it doesn't matter. It's political agenda. That's nothing we can handle. If they decide to go that way, Bitcoin is in danger. At least Bitcoin mining is in danger. And well, Ethereum, we know that, yeah, Ethereum, you can stake Ethereum as well. Um, well, I would say that that's everything for today. If one of you are just wondering why I didn't talk about different walls, it's because I didn't see anything really helpful for us. I mean, you remember the 38K, but it's really low volume. That's Coinbase, for example. It's nothing useful at the moment. That's why I didn't talk about that. Just in case that someone is just wondering why Inspo didn't talk about that. We have the same walls I have explained yesterday in my analysis, but just to show you just a quick overview what's happening at the moment. Um, we have walls at 37.5 and 38. So just keep in mind what we have noticed before with option trading. They have placed puts at 38K. That's really interesting, and we should have in mind. So in case that we really dump below 40K, 39K, we stay below 38K, so should be in our mind, because that could be the key for the next well, maybe not bounce but retrace. Yeah, and that's it. As promised, Saturday is long streaming, and we are done for today. However, I keep checking the data, I keep checking the charts in case I notice anything that could be helpful. If I see that the market is flipping, I will treat and I will provide this information with charts, of course, on Discord and Twitter at the same time. Otherwise, I would say big love to you. Stay, yeah, take care, stay safe, and yeah, have success with your trades. Monday I will release the daily report again, and not next week, but the week after, I will provide some new stuff, because then I have vacation and I will have enough time to spend with crypto, and I look forward to that. So, big love, thank you for your support, and have a nice weekend. Bye bye.